Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome, dear students. I'm sure you all would be pretty much healthy by the grace of Allah. Today, the title of my topic is Phenomenology, and you know I'm Dr. Ayaz Muhammad Khan. Dear students, here are the points that we would cover in this lecture. First of all, we would see that what do we mean by phenomenology. We would try to get through its background, a little bit history, and then we would also get over to see whether it is a method or a design. Then we'll move to its procedures, features, challenges, and discussions. And keep it in mind that we would also get over different types of phenomenology. So, dear students, let's first of all see what do we mean by phenomena. A phenomena is anything which manifests itself. It may be a fact or a situation that is observed to exist or happen, especially one whose case of explanation is in question. Or one man describes it very briefly that phenomena is object of human experience. In qualitative research design, phenomenology aims to describe the lived experience of individual around a phenomena, as described by John Creswell. So now I would request you to try to explore what different people in that given picture explore as a lived experience. Dear scholars, when you get over the definition of phenomenology, you would explore some of the things which are pretty common. The very first thing is lived experience, and then essence of that lived experience. You would also see the word bracketing, apoche, reduction, and imaginative variations. Here I'm giving you the definition given by Edmund Husserl, who was of the opinion that pure phenomenological research seeks essentially to describe rather than explain, and to start from a perspective free from hypotheses or preconceptions, meaning thereby exploring some phenomena without any presupposed assumptions. Let's see what does the modern mixed method research expert John Creswell says about phenomenology. He is of the opinion that phenomenology is an approach to qualitative research that focuses on the commonality of a lived experience within a particular group. The fundamental goal of this approach is to arrive at a description of the nature of the particular phenomena. So we can say that phenomenology investigates the different ways in which people experience something or think about something. As a matter of fact, for this purpose, they need to go into the phenomena without any presupposed assumption. This is relatively new approach used in education to observe students' approaches to learning and many other things. So if somebody asked me to give one liner purpose of the phenomenology, so I would say the purpose of a phenomenological study is to describe the essence of experience or experiencing a phenomena without any presupposed assumption. The proponents of phenomenology are many, but some of the famous are first one is Immanuel Kant, who started discussing this phenomenology in the first quarter of 18th century. Then we have got George Wilhelm Hegel, who started his research work in 1770s. Edmund Husserl, who is usually called as father of phenomenology, started his work in the early part of the 20th century. Then we have got Martin Heidegger and Jean-Paul Sartre, who have worked a lot in this field. The term phenomenology was first ever used by Johann Heinrich Lambert. After that, Immanuel Kant and Johann used it. But the term was made popular in 1807 by Hegel in his book Phenomenology of Spirit. Edmund Husserl later refined the meaning into more of what we use today. Phenomena can be studied only subjectively, not objectively. Thus, phenomenology is a close cousin of existentialism. It being discovered by Edmund Husserl, and Husserl began to develop a philosophy as rigorous scientific method called phenomenology. Edmund Husserl later refined the meaning into more of what we use today. Okay, scholars, due to the extensive work on phenomenology, Edmund Husserl was known as grandfather of phenomenological research. Abstract ideas of any object as phenomena. But he used to say the reflective study of how things appear to our conscious awareness and ultimately how they would appear to us in terms of our subjective experience. In a nutshell, we can say reflecting upon our experience to gain some understanding of its underlying order and coherence is called phenomenology. Dear student, I have given you a link of YouTube, and this link will take you to the different forms or types of phenomenology. I would be giving you at least 10 minutes to get over it. This is just a 2.5 minutes long video, and I'm sure after that, when I'll start my lecture, you would understand things far better. The renewed interest in phenomenology has been a return to the much discussed question of what phenomenology is, for which a definitive answer has yet to be found. Dear students, phenomenology can be taken as a methodology and as a philosophy. Being methodology, it is both descriptive and interpretive. But when we look at it as a philosophy, it is transcendental, it is hermeneutics, it is existential, and it is phenomenography. Transcendental. This is the first form of phenomenology, which means people's meaning of lived experience of a concept or phenomenon whose purpose is to describe the essence, the nature of experience or phenomenon. It also means to describe the experience of participants. It tends to seek essence by changing an aspect of phenomena and then evaluating that change. Researchers actually brackets in order to give a clear view of whatever is being researched. Research questions can be what is the experience of research students in undergrad research class? So, scholars, in transcendental phenomenology, you try to delve into the phenomena without any presupposed assumption. So, what if you have read things before, like you have gone through different theories about the phenomena? Husserl, in his Transcendental Phenomenology, has advised us to go for bracketing or epoche. So let's see what does bracketing or epoche means. The researchers set aside their experiences, biases and preconceived notions in order to understand the phenomenon appears to the participant, not how it is perceived to the participants. Bracketing is something known as epoche as well. We have to delimit our natural attitude through epoche to identify the phenomenological idea. and the act of using epoche is called phenomenological reduction. In transcendental phenomenology, Edmund Husserl argues that in order to answer the question of how we can have knowledge of the world, we ought to turn our attention to the study of our experiencing of that phenomena. There is a natural attitude and phenomenological attitude. What do we mean by natural attitude? Our everyday involvement in the world. And phenomenological, the philosophical act of pure reflection. So, phenomenology studies the structure of various types of experience, including perception, thought, memory, and imagination, but look at it with the both perspective, the meaning of natural attitude and the real crux or real meaning from the standpoint of phenomenological attitude. I'll give you the example in the next upcoming slide. Okay, as I told you in the previous slide that I would give you the difference between natural and phenomenological attitude. From the standpoint of natural attitude, a minute of time is simply minute of time regardless of how or where we spent. But from phenomenological standpoint, a minute of the time depends upon how we spend it or how we actually experience it. The meaning of things varies quite a bit depending upon whether we are seeing them from natural attitude or from phenomenological attitude. For instance, a minute of the time may pass very quickly for us when we are happy, or takes long when we are sad. So, if I tell you in Urdu, our natural attitude is कि in 1 hour 60 minutes होते हैं, लेकिन वो 1 आवर या वो 1 घंटा कैसे गुजरा, खुशी में पूरा दिन पलक झपकते में गुजर जाता, लेकिन अगर गम हो तो वो दिन इतना लंबा हो जाता है कि वो कभी भी ख़त्म नहीं होता. तो एक दिन में 24 घंटे हैं, ये आपका नेचुरल एटीट्यूड है. 1 घंटे में 60 मिनट हैं, 1 मिनट में 60 सेकंड है, ये आपका नेचुरल एटीट्यूड है. लेकिन फिनोमिनोलॉजिकल एटीट्यूड यह है कि वो 1 घंटा 1 मिनट कैसे गुजरा, असल में वो क्रक्स आपको बताता है, और यही ट्रांसेंडेंटल फिनोमिनोलॉजी की खूबी. Dear student, I would request you to get over this 4 minutes video which is on YouTube. After that 4 minutes, I'll let you know that what does reflexivity means. Reflexivity is very important. You delve into the phenomena without any presupposed assumption. That is what I have told you earlier for your phenomenology, especially for transcendental phenomenology. So reflexivity is an ability to evaluate oneself. It is important for reflecting on biases and preconceptions so that the researcher doesn't end up twisting around research data and making biased interpretations about that data. आप किसी फिनोमिना में जाते हैं और पहले से उसके मुतालिक एक राय कायम की हुई है. तो ट्रांसेंडेंटल फिनोमिनोलॉजी जो एडमंड हुसरल की है वो कहती है कि यू गॉट टू राइट, वो जो ब्रैकेटिंग आपको बताया था, इसको एक और टर्म रिफ्लेक्सिविटी भी कहते हैं. एंड इन दैट टर्म यू गॉट टू टेल व्हाट वर योर बायसेस, सो दैट when we study your research, we may explore whether your personal biases have any effect on the phenomena that you have studied. So, hermeneutics phenomenology. The word hermeneutics is derived from ancient Greek term which means to say or utter. It is both an activity as well as a philosophy. We'll be dealing it as an activity in research. Understands the situated meaning of a human in the word and develop a sense of whole. It reflects on the lived experience with interpretations by the researcher. Researchers interprets texts. Keep it in your mind. Researcher interprets text to explore lived experience. So, in hermeneutics, you will get some sort of text and you would try to explore the lived experience within the text. Research questions might be, what is the experience of undergrads in research class as interpreted through their WhatsApp group chat? I mean, you would explore that what are they saying about their research class, whether it is good or not good, what sort of difficulties they are facing. So, if you are doing that sort of study, it would come under the umbrella of hermeneutic phenomenology. Another version of hermeneutic phenomenology is that it is a method of abstemious reflection on the basic structure of the lived experience of human existence. Methods refer to the way or attitude of approaching a phenomena. Abstemious means that reflecting on experience aims to abstain from theoretical, polemical, suppositional, or emotional intoxications. Hermeneutics means that reflecting on experience must aim for discursive language and sensitive interpretive devices that make phenomenological analysis, explication, and description possible and intelligible. And when we talk about lived experience, it means that phenomenology reflects on the pre reflective or pre predictive life of human existence as living through it. Okay, students, let's wrap it up. I mean, we would see what is the difference between transcendental phenomenology and hermeneutics phenomenology, which is interpretive in nature. Let's talk about its philosophical origin. You know that transcendental phenomenology, the origin was from Edmund Husserl, whereas hermeneutics, it is Heidegger. When we look at ontological assumption, transcendental phenomenology, the reality is internal to the knower, what appears in their consciousness. But for hermeneutics, lived experience is an interpretive process situated in an individual's life world. Epistemological assumption, transcendental phenomenology expert says, observer must separate himself or herself from the world, including his or her own physical being, to reach the state of transcendent. Bias free, understand phenomena by descriptive means, as I told you earlier, without any presupposed assumption. But for hermeneutics, observer is a part of world and not bias free. I mean, there must be some bias, understand phenomena by interpretive means. When we look at the researcher role in the data collection, transcendental phenomenology says the researcher has to bracket subjectivity. But in hermeneutics, researcher reflects on essential themes of participant experiencing with the phenomena while simultaneously reflecting or giving reflection on his own experience as well. Rest of the things you can read it well. Let's look at it. Existential phenomenology, which is more philosophical in nature. Essentialism uses a philosophical method called phenomenology. According to Philosophy Index, phenomenology is a philosophical model that was made to be free of presupposition. The idea is to study and describe objects and events from the position of observer rather than to make claims about some objective reality. In other words, phenomenology deals with the client's subjective reality. As I had told you earlier, that most of the work that you would do, either it would be on transcendental phenomenology or hermeneutics. Though there is another branch which is called as phenomenography, but it is not that much popular. Phenomenography. It investigates the different ways in which people experience something or think about something. Relatively new approach used in education as well as it can be used in business, like to observe student approaches to learning in education. And you can also go for customers, brand loyalty, if you want to explore that. When we look at phenomenography and phenomenology, there is a difference of approach and purpose. Phenomenography does not distinguish between pre-reflective and reflective experience in exploring experience of the phenomena. But in phenomenology, they asserts a distinction between pre-reflective and reflective experience. When we look at the purpose, phenomenography description of the structure and meaning of the collective experience of a phenomena, but in phenomenology they go for describing the essence of a phenomena by focusing on individual experience. There are many methods of phenomenology, but MOUSTAKES approach in 1994, I would recommend you to get over it. Uh, for that purpose, you got to determine a phenomena and then identify the common interest to the study. You got to take the philosophical positioning. Either you are going for transcendental phenomenology or phenomenography, or you are going for hermeneutics. And then bracketing or making apoche, collecting data. This is a qualitative research, so you either go for interview or observation. And if you are going for hermeneutics, so ultimately you would study different text, and then you would go for analyzing the data. Like all qualitative researches, data collection tools in phenomenology are in-depth interviews. Mainly, you go for interviews unless you get saturation, and maximum number of interviews that you can conduct can be 10. The second technique that you adopt is observation, and observation is damn good in this sort of research. Then you can have your self report or narratives in the form of while you are doing research on hermeneutics. For data analysis method, the first principle of analysis of phenomenological data is to use an emergent strategy to allow the method of analysis to follow the nature of the data itself. Explore your own experience or set aside your opinion or judgment, bracket judgments and everyday understandings in order to examine consciousness itself. Phenomenological reduction, which I have already told you, revisiting the experience to derive the inner structure, meaning in and of itself. Then you got to go to horizontalization. Horizontalization is very significant, as you have to explore the significant statements taken from the transcript to describe elements of experience or experiencing the phenomenon. Significant statements are actually sentences or quotes that describe how the participant experienced the phenomena. Similarly, significant statements are placed into clusters of different themes of a participant experience within the phenomena. So you have to code the things, categorize the thing, and take the help of all the text from, especially the significant text, so that you may conclude it very well. uh, Initially, when you would go for structural description, the context and the setting that influenced how the participant experienced the phenomena, and ultimately it would lead to write an essence of the phenomena, also known as essential invariant structure. So here everything has its own pros and cons. So is phenomenology. Advantages of phenomenology: it is very efficient and economical. You have to get through interviews, not more than 10, but time and again you would get over it. Direct interaction with participant, data is in participants own hand. There is a synergy, flexible research tools that you use. Results are easy to understand, in-depth understanding you would get. But there are certain disadvantages as well. If you are not expert in writing, if you are not expert in conducting interviews, if you are not if you do not understand that in qualitative research the researcher himself or herself is the main instrument, You won't be making good interviews, good observation. Ultimately, your findings would be difficult to generalize. And this is the weakness of ethnography, that findings are not generalizable. Data is often difficult to analyze and summarize. Researcher may give too much credit to the results. Requires a quality moderator. Phenomenology can describe the unique experience and you can get over rest of it, and you can ask any question if you are unable to. Like many qualitative studies, as you know, which are not horizontal, rather they are vertical, get deep into the phenomena. The major features of phenomenology are that they are holistic, ideographic approach, emphasize and exploration of phenomena, philosophical discussion, and they go for bracketing, epoche, reflexivity, data collection, in-depth data collection, and have very good conclusions. Many challenges are associated with phenomenological studies because this is too structured for some qualitative researcher. And if being a researcher, you are not good at choosing uh, good participants who are well versed, who know the phenomena very well, and you as a researcher yourself is not working uh, in depth, so it would be a challenge for you. Dear students, here is a description of three contemporary approaches to phenomenology. I would request you to get over it, keeping in view the three perspective: live word research, post intentional phenomenology, and interpretive phenomenological analysis. Uh, Things are pretty much easy. If you have got any question, just I would give you 5 minutes to read it out, and then you may ask questions to me. Dear students, I would recommend you to listen to this 50 minutes uh, video. This is really an outstanding video that would show you the two outstanding persons advocating phenomenology, Edmund Husserl and Heidegger, and you would learn a lot. I mean, at the end of this is just like your homework as well, that you would go and listen to that on the YouTube, and then at the end of it, in our next lecture, we'll be discussing many more things out of it. This is another of your task. You would go to this website, journal.library.alberta.ca, and what you would do, that in phase 1 you would review the given journal, write up your observed phenomena, submit it in journal after meeting the scope of this journal. But this would be limited to PhD and MPhil students who wish to study. Like marketing student can go and explore the phenomenology, the transcendental phenomenology of our people who have brand loyalty for some brand. You would try to explore that thing. uh, you will have to submit a write-up at the end of this session. Dear students, here are the suggested reading. The material which I have used from those books, as well as I have also given the references. If I have taken something from the YouTube or from Google, references are over there. You can get over those things quite easily.